Do you have an alarm system in your home? A security system that's set up, and I'm not talking about just granny shotgun. I'm talking about an electronic system that is designed to go off in the event that an intruder enters your home unwelcome, unbeknownst, with the intent to do harm. Somebody breaks into your home, the alarm goes off, and there's a very loud noise, whether it be middle of the day, whether it be middle of the night, whenever it is, the authorities are called, and so that is designed to secure your home. And what is it about a security system that we love? Well, it promises us something. It promises us safety and security, and that in the event something happens, those who need to know and those who I need help from will come. You know, Jesus said that let your yes be yes and your no be no. Don't swear by the earth. Don't swear by the moon. None of those things. He said, just simply let your yes be yes and no be no. And we're to be people of our word, and we are. But did you know God himself swears to us, or God makes a promise to us? And what is it about a promise that we love? And a promise is a very biblical principle. I want to begin halfway through the 6th chapter. I want to pick up there as we introduce the 7th chapter in this 7th study. Look in Hebrews chapter 6 and verse 13. For when God made the promise to Abraham, since he could swear by no one greater, he swore by himself, saying, I will surely bless you, and I will surely multiply you. And so, having patiently waited, he obtained the promise. For men swear by one greater than themselves, and with them an oath given as confirmation is an end to every dispute. We love a promise. We love somebody to say, I promise you. Maybe you have been in a situation with somebody and you say, I promise to you, I guarantee you that I will fulfill what it is that I'm saying. Now, in your mind, you may know 100% beyond the shadow of a doubt that you will fulfill what you're saying, but you make a promise to that person. You give a promise. You swear, as it were, to that person, I will do this. And you give that to them for their mind's sake, for their heart's sake, for their trust's sake. You know, you've seen little children say, I pinky promise. As though our word has to be signed with some sort of promise, guarantee, security. Because our word, in and of itself, to some people, doesn't mean a whole lot. Some of you grew up in a time where a man's word was his bond, where unless two men shook on it, it wasn't a deal. You had to shake on it. Maybe it was one of those spit in the hand and shake on it, or cut blood and shake on it, whatever it was. And that was a sign to say, I'm serious and I'm for real. But today, words are thrown around flippantly. Promises are broken all the time. You have relationships with people who have broken their word. They promised something. I swear to you that I will do thus and such, and then they don't do it. And because of that, you have a hard time trusting people. That's the way we're wired. The wonderful thing is that God says specifically in this text here that he cannot lie. That even though God cannot lie, he then extends a promise. He did so to Abraham. But he does so to you and I. Let's jump back into the text and see what it is God actually promises us as New Testament Christians. And what he was trying to promise to these Hebrews, that if they would listen, they would obtain the promise just as Abraham did. Let's pick up in verse 17. Hebrews chapter 6, verse 17. In the same way, God, desiring even more to show to the heirs of the promise the unchangeableness of his purpose, interposed with an oath, so that by two unchangeable things in which it is impossible for God to lie, underline that, we who have taken refuge would have strong encouragement to take hold of the hope set before us. This hope we have as an anchor of the soul, a hope both sure and steadfast, and one which enters within the veil, where Jesus has entered as a forerunner for us, having become a high priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. God gives us two things. Number one, His Word, and then the oath, which is our hope, the promise that through Jesus I will save you. And that hope that we have, as he says, is an anchor. It's just imagine that you are chained to the anvil of a massive, massive naval battleship. And this anchor will stop this boat from sailing any farther. Well, picture that, and if you will, in a spiritual sense, that you and I are chained to something, that hope that Jesus has thrown inside the most holy place where God is. That Jesus, as our high priest, has secured us a place, a promise. God, not only has He given us two unchangeable things, His Word and then His oath and promise, God swears to us that He will never forsake us. The word for this chapter is security. I don't know about you, but I trust and rest in the fact that God says, not only can I not lie, but I'm going to promise you, I'm going to shake on this very fact that you are mine and I am yours, and that my Son serves as your high priest, and He has saved you and He makes you clean. This is a picture of security. This is a picture of a promise. This is a blessing that you and I have in Jesus, and I trust that you cherish that very thing that He says, I promise you. You have a hope. It's an anchor. It's here in the midst of me, and you are connected to it. And like Abraham, the one of old, as he endured, Romans chapter 4 and verse 12, no unbelief made him waver concerning the promise of God, but he endured, and he continued on and gave God the glory in the process. So you will endure. I have you. You are mine. But let's look at some other things in this text to kind of highlight this, to solidify this promise and this hope that we have in Jesus. If you've got your Bible, I want to underline a few things in these verses to help us see the security of what God is talking about in this chapter. Chapter 7, verse 3 continues. Underline that. Verse 4, forever. Skip down to verse 16. Indestructible, or your version may say endless. Verse 21, forever. How long is forever? Forever. Verse 24, He continues. The idea is still forever. Verse 25, always. Verse 28, forever. This is this Jesus that we have. And this is what He promises us, and that He is these things for us. Jesus is always for us and always with us. I need to hear that. I need that security to be there. And Hebrews chapter 7 gives me that security, and it's my prayer that as you're reading this, your security in God is growing. Because there's so many Christians who are not secure in their salvation. They're not secure in what God has done for them. They're not secure in the atoning work of Jesus. And they live in fear. God has never designed us to do such. As we close, I just want to look at one word that Jesus serves for you and I. At the end of chapter 6, verse 20, it says, where Jesus has entered as a forerunner. The word forerunner that Jesus is the word scout. You remember the old black and white westerns, or maybe a western today, where a Native American joins the cavalry unit, and he serves as a scout. He has on the cavalryman's jacket. He has on the cavalryman's hat, and he wears his native clothing, maybe his buckskin pants and his shoes. Or maybe you remember Tonto and the Lone Ranger from years gone by, where Tonto would go out and observe the land beforehand. This scout, Native American, would go out. He knows the people, he knows the land, he knows their tricks, he knows how they will try to capture the cavalry unit. And so this Native American will go out and he will scout the land. He looks out beforehand. He goes before, sees the traps, talks to people, listens to the earth, puts his ear to the ground, looks for things and signs of things that could potentially be hazardous. And he goes out beforehand and he scouts to see what to expect, how many there are, and how we can win. Jesus is that for us. Jesus goes out beforehand. Jesus is our scout to say, I know the land. I know the people. I know this place and the problems they're in. I go out before you and I will clear things away, or I will be with you throughout this walk that we're in. I love Jesus, and I love him for being my scout to go on beforehand and see the things that could potentially be hazardous to me, and he makes right. You remember the spies that went into the land of Canaan? We're studying Joshua on Wednesday nights, and those spies went out, though they went out beforehand, and they looked and they saw, and they made arrangements and cleared things away and spied out the land. That's what Jesus does for us concerning our spiritual health. Jesus is trying to get us to see, I'm for you. I go out beforehand before you. I secure and make a place for you. I will make things right. I will not take you into a place that I have not seen, that I have not observed. You are scouted out beforehand, and I'm walking with you through it. This is the Jesus. Jesus is a better promise than the promise that was made to Abraham. Was it true? Yes. Could God lie? No. But Jesus serves as that for us. That's my hope and my trust and my security, and I hope it is yours. And it's my prayer that it is yours. As we close this lesson, Jesus is supposed to be your scout and your security. Do you allow him to be that?